Welcome everyone to our LookUp Innovator Showcase, which is in the form of a pitch party. And the whole goal here today is to have some practice for our innovators to learn how to give a pitch, to know what kind of things to say to someone when they're looking for the next phases of their projects. You'll also hear a lot about their projects and what they have been working on thus far. And you'll be able to provide some feedback. And with that, just keep in mind, these are some very initial thoughts and beginnings. So with the grace and the kindness of remembering that as we are giving our feedback, but also bringing in some of your expertise and your knowledge and just some things that you might be curious about within the Google form. We will be dropping that Google form at the beginning of every presentation, just so that it's up and open for you and you can fill in all of the questions. They're very short, but there are some freehand sentences that you can put in there. So we'll give you enough time at the end for maybe like about 3 minutes to wrap up your thoughts. And if there are any questions for the pitch that you hear, please like unmute and just ask the question. This doesn't have to be as formal as it may have been presented. And then I will just keep time for us and get us on our way. Susan, was there anything you wanted to start with before I officially kick us off and do other housekeeping things?
No, just that this is so exciting. This is our, you are our fifth cohort of LookUp innovators and social entrepreneurs and advocates and activists. And it's just thrilling to see how important your work is and how the movement is going. And, just hoping you will continue to be connected to LookUp and supporting others as they follow in your footsteps.
Great. Amazing. And then here's just a quick notice to all who are in our cohort. There are some of you who have not done your exit interview survey. So what we're going to do is, in order for you to obtain your feedback from today, you need to have that completed. So I'm going to drop the link in the chat so that you can complete the survey, get access to your feedback, because we don't want to delay you in any way. And that's going to be right here. And there are a few individuals, so if not, I will do a follow-up and let you know that I still need this from you. And today we're going to be starting with a group called the Center for Intimacy Justice. They are currently international, so I believe it's like 11 or midnight for them there, and I said don't mind coming in at that time. So they've provided us with a recording I will share with us. We'll get started on that, and then Mignon will be dropping the link for the pitch feedback form. It's in the form of a Google form in the chat here for you, so you can open that up and give some very just insightful information that you might have for them. So just give me one moment and I'll have this ready and queued up for us.
Be present for this pitch party, but we're really excited to be still submitting this video and be part of the showcase. So I'm Zoe from the Center for Intimacy Justice. We are a women-led nonprofit working to create more equitable ecosystems for sexual and reproductive health, information, and innovation. So our past research has uncovered that major tech platforms digitally suppress content that supports the sexual and reproductive health of women and people of underrepresented genders. Our 2022 research report, published in the New York Times, found that 100% of women's health businesses had ads and health information rejected by Meta, and half had their accounts suspended. So you can see on the screen here some examples of some ads that were taken down and topics that are wrongly classified as sexual and blocked. Other examples include issues that are critical to youth sexual education, such as consent, contraception, endometriosis, menstrual health, and many, many more. So sexual and reproductive health are inextricably linked with mental health. This suppression of health information that we see taking place ultimately perpetuates harmful stigma and shame that actually prevents people from making the most informed decisions about their bodies. In today's digital age, a significant number of young people are relying on social media platforms like TikTok to access health information. And a recent study found that over 40% of Gen Z and millennial users turn to TikTok for health-related content. However, what we understand is that gaps in access to sexual and reproductive health information on these platforms fuel anxiety, confusion, shame, and self-doubt for young users of social media, as well as young content creators who fear the removal of their content. This censorship not only limits access to crucial information, but perpetuates this cycle of misinformation and stigmatization around sexual and reproductive health topics. In 2021, the World Health Organization recommended that sexual and reproductive health information and services be accessible to adolescents to prevent adverse mental health outcomes. So at the Center for Intimacy Justice, we document and analyze evidence of this discriminatory censorship, and we strategically advocate to change big tech's content moderation policies and practices to be more equitable and inclusive of sexual and reproductive health information and products. The incredible LookUp program has provided us with the support and funding to actually catalyze a new research investigation. So we've been conducting this new investigation into the practices of 4 big tech platforms, and that's Meta, TikTok, Google, and Amazon. This latest research expands on our 2022 report that was focused on Meta and aims to newly collect updated data to understand what is the current status of online suppression of sexual and reproductive health information. And to understand the nuances of this censorship, we've decided to use a 2-pronged approach, a quantitative survey and also qualitative interviews, so that we can actually hear directly from those that are impacted and affected by this censorship. So over the last 6 months or so, and with the amazing support of the LookUp team and our mentor, we were able to get our survey out to over 600 women's health creators, businesses, and organizations through our newsletter, and even more through social media. We found that the community was incredibly responsive, and I think that speaks to how deeply impacted so many of them are by this issue. So as of now, we've collected 330 survey responses from over 20 countries, including around 1/3 of which are content creators. And it's been very eye-opening for us to see very much the global scale of this issue and how impactful the censorship can be. What's also really striking is that the vast majority of the nonprofits and businesses that have participated in our study thus far are led and founded by women, with some non-binary founders as well. So it's clear that this is an issue that disproportionately impacts people of marginalized genders. In terms of where we're currently at right now, we're actually in the thick of cleaning up all this data and putting together a research protocol that details or outlines our inclusion and exclusion criteria, as well as the statistical analysis that we'll be using for this data set. At the same time, we've also been putting a really big focus on building partnerships so that we can engage with different like-minded individuals and organizations to help amplify our work and make sure that it has the biggest possible impact. Recently, and kind of as an example of these types of partnerships, CIJ partnered with Frida, which is a maternal health company that launched a platform called Uncensored that shares real and uncensored maternal health content, like how to give a perineal massage, how to treat cracked nipples, how to do an at-home insemination, which was all things that were previously unable to exist online. And from our work with them and this partnership, we've been featured in multiple news outlets, including the CNN and the New York Times. Of course, none of our research work would be possible without funding. We need that to be able to conduct the analysis and have the most impact possible. So we've been busy fundraising as well to make sure that we actually have the resources to do the analysis and create strategic research reports. We are planning to work with research consultants as well as communication and PR teams in the next phase of our work to conduct this analysis and bring the findings to life, very much leveraging the power of storytelling to bring this censorship issue into the public eye. So our aim is to utilize these data-backed findings to unveil the systemic suppression of sexual and reproductive health information across major tech platforms, and also really peel back the veil on its impact around mental health. We plan to leverage this research to advocate for change and influence legislative and regulatory bodies to address and rectify these biases in content moderation. Ultimately, we believe that improving access to sexual and reproductive health information is essential to empower youth with the knowledge needed to make healthier and more informed choices about their bodies, relationships, and overall lives. And we're so grateful to everyone at the LookUp team, in the cohort, the mentors, for this incredible experience and helping get to us to the place we're at today doing this work. So thank you, and I'm looking forward to receiving feedback.
That was CIJ. They are, again, unable to be with us. So if you do have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the form that is provided to you. I'm going to also double check some of this link here. So just give me one moment. And then next up, just to have some flow into the next one, we are now going to hear from Keegan. If you're in the room, go ahead and start preparing to share your screen and share with us just everything that you have prepared. I'm going to go ahead and enable sharing for you, and I'm going to allow some folks to finish up their Google Forms. Just give me one moment.
Okay, we should be on, perhaps. Okay, amazing. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Keegan Lee, and it's great to see so many familiar names and faces here. And I just have to say that, oh, I don't know why this is not showing up. I don't know. Oh, there's an animation. I was not expecting that. I was like, where's my title? Anyway, that was a surprise. So yes, I'm very grateful to be here and for this program. It really has been so incredibly helpful, and I will go more into depth with that, and I will make it, very short and sweet, and yes, so just very excited. Thank you all for all of your support. So I'm just going to back up a little bit at the very beginning. The whole entire process, how I, fell into this space, was really originated from personal experience, which is something I think a lot of us can relate to in terms of how our activism is initiated. And so I just realized that social media was just very all-consuming on a mental, emotional, and physical level. And I noticed these negative effects, but I also recognize the positive effects of it. So I wanted to do something for myself that would allow me to see noticeable behavioral change over a short amount of time, while also breaking bad habits so that I could go back into social media with a more conscious, positive mindset. And of course, I still struggle sometimes, but I have a lot better I have a healthier relationship with it, and I'm able to educate others and really share this message with the world more effectively. And so I deleted social media for 60 days, and I chose that time frame because it was short enough to see behavioral change, but it's also what the science tells us is kind of the minimum amount of time it takes for your brain to kind of rewire itself from a dependence. Maybe addictions may take a long time, but I did have a digital dependence for social media from just a gratification standpoint, from a comparative standpoint. And so that was sort of what was happening. And so during that time, I reached out to a professor of psychology at Elon University, and that's who you see in that picture. And I reached out to him because he was in close proximity to where I lived, but he also specialized in child and adolescents digital technology use. And so I wanted to hear his perspective and expertise on why I might be having periods of withdrawal and why these behaviors were happening. And so he helped me understand the psychological perspective. And so then we decided that we wanted to turn it into something tangible. And so during the 60-day cleanse, I journaled my everyday thoughts and feelings, and I documented that. And Dr. Gandor responded to these journal entries in a psychological way, to kind of give this in-depth scientific perspective. And so that's kind of how the layout of the book was written. And so it was a relatively short process for a book to be written, but we did that because we wanted kind of the story and the science, plus the intergenerational aspect of him being older than me and seeing in the classroom and, you know, with his own children how this was affecting the lives of young people, but then also me being part of Generation Z, and so that combination we thought could make a pretty powerful team. And so now we have really tried to expand our message specifically to the youth. And so before the LookUp program, we went around to several schools around the country, and we gave talks to them, and that was really our primary way of creating change. And so that was really fulfilling for us because I loved being able to see the youth and to look at them in the eye and to be able to communicate and to interact with them in person and to hear their stories. And so that was really impactful. And several of these I did on my own. Dr. Gandor was there to, you know, kind of in the background to kind of help, you know, give feedback and everything, but he's quite busy. So there are several times where we are a team, but there are several times where I took initiative to present and to talk to the youth, and it was very impactful. And so kind of a theme that I noticed throughout these presentations that I gave to the youth was I kind of shifted my perspective and understanding of the digital world. So I approached it a lot less negatively and more of an approach of, you know, we see what's happening, we see the challenges, we see how this is affecting young people and people of all generations. That's what we know, but we need to be empowered and we need to be motivated and look at this as kind of meeting the platforms where they are and then seeing how we can educate and change and give people the resources that they need. And so it was a much more futuristic, visionary approach that I gained from these young people themselves. And so they were very huge inspiration to me. And so what we wanted to really do during the program was to expand our reach through multiple different audiences. So to parents and to educators as reaching various social audiences that all play a very important role in shaping young minds and shaping the future of the digital age. And so we wanted to also focus on public speaking, you know, virtual or in person, because that was really how we love to tell our story. And that was what we found to be the most fulfilling for us, into working on the education and advocacy side of things. And then we wanted to really innovate. We wanted to think of ways we could create new tangible things that could be conducive to helping people navigate technology in a more responsible way. And so then the last component is research. And so integrating more of the science into this area. And so during the program, we did a lot. I'm going to go through the different components and how we kind of accomplished our goals during the program, and how LookUp really helped do that through, funding and giving us the resources and mentorship that we needed. And so this is kind of just an overview of what we did. And so, we did some webinars with Mental Health America. We did a talk at UNC Chapel Hill, and some high schools and University of Richmond, and then thanks to Susan, I was able to present to Massachusetts Partnerships for Youth, and so that was a really great opportunity. And April, I presented in New Orleans at the National School Boards Association conference, and that was really amazing to see that audience there, and the amount of educators and school administrators that were in the room. And they were very much very intrigued and showed great reciprocity in what we were saying. And so in May, I attended the Breaking Algorithm Summit with Mental Health America, and that was very incredible. And so we are still working on the report for that, the data that we found from that. And for the summer, I am teaching in Switzerland a course on innovation and creativity and entrepreneurship. And so that is very exciting. And we truly need the mentorship and the teaching and the opportunities and the funding to make this happen. And that's why I'm so grateful for LookUp for everything that they have done to make all of these things possible. And so then from a leadership perspective, I've served on the Mental Health America Youth Leadership Council and American Academy of Pediatrics, and then Speak Out Sisterhood, which is kind of eradicating barriers for women who are, who want to be activists, who want to create change. And so that's very empowering as well. And so in terms of the more innovative approach that I have done, I've published a curriculum for parents and educators. And I wanted to focus on parents and educators because I feel like that they have a very powerful role in shaping the young minds, and can be the primary determinant into how children navigate technology. And so the course is 9 modules and covers pretty much everything from the brain to educational technology to social media from a psychological perspective. And so that was completed in January of 2024. And so also I was fortunate to be in a short film with Discovery Education, where they were looking at the digital ecosystem of young people. And I was very fortunate that they wanted to highlight my story as a young activist in this area. And so I'm a huge proponent of creative activism and using these innovative ways to showcase and tell our stories. And so research, my work has been featured in the National School Boards Association journals, and I've also done some research at UNC Chapel Hill. We have the Winston Center for Technology Use and Social Media and Brain Development, where we're looking at this on a neurobiological, psychological level. And so we're seeing some very exciting things there. And then, these other workshop pictures are from the Breaking the Algorithm Summit, where we're going to compose our findings into research. And so that's just a small snippet of what's been happening recently. But right now I am pivoting into research and also, focusing on the teaching and more so expanding the reach. And so that's kind of where we are going. We want to Dr. Gandor and I want to expand globally and really give a focus on parents and educators as a primary audience. Because we've seen how they need help and they need resources, and the youth do as well, and we are also still focusing on them, but we are really passionate about helping the parents and educators, that audience, and so we're going to continue to innovate and focus on research and really understand that social media should be used as a force for good. We know that it does have positive effects, and we do know that there are very negative aspects of it, but it's about, finding the middle ground and looking into the future for empowerment and innovation, and finding this intergenerational force aspect, which is, just all people coming together to help this this problem, this challenge. So that is all. Thank you so very much. Again, I'm so grateful for LookUp, for everything that has happened this past year. It's gone by so fast. I'm so incredibly grateful to have been a part of the cohort, and I'm looking forward to seeing everyone else's projects and getting feedback. So thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Keegan. You'll have some time to now start typing in on your Google Forms that have been rectified and smoothed out. The next group that we're going to be hearing from is going to be Hope Podcast. So screen sharing, again, is available for you. Let's give it maybe like 30 seconds or so, and then you can go ahead and kick it off. And as a gentle reminder to everyone, your presentations should be under 7 minutes, so that we have enough time for Q&A if someone has a question, and also enough time for folks to just put in their final thoughts before we move on. So just a gentle reminder, I will send you a little message as like a little wrap-up alert if we get close to that point, but I've got you covered there. So Hope Podcast, the floor is yours.
Hi, folks. I'm Marilyn from the Hope Podcast. I am just trying to figure out why my screen is not showing up. And then I can share my screen. But we're so excited to be here. Thank you so much. Okay. Can you let me know if you can see my screen, okay?
Yeah, looks great.
Awesome. Thank you all. Thank you all so much. So let me go ahead and introduce myself. So my name is Marilyn, and I am an adult ally supporting with the Hope Podcast. And so I have the wonderful opportunity to be able to work alongside this youth-led podcast team. And so before we share more about our podcast, which is really a space for young people to share their perspectives around the intersection of social media and youth well-being, I would love to give my team an opportunity to introduce themselves as well. And so unfortunately, Vaibhava and Rashio were not able to make it here today, but they are also part of our youth podcast team. Vaibhava is our host, and Rashio is our audio engineer. And so I will go ahead and pass it over to Sanjna to introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Sanjna. I'm a college student currently, and I am part of the Hope Coalition, and I'm one of the podcast hosts.
Thanks, Sanjna. Yeah, Edward, feel free to share.
My name is Edward. I am a current rising college freshman, and I'm also one of the podcast hosts. Excited to be here.
Hi, and I'm Gabriella. Sorry if my background's a little bit noisy, but I am an editor and also audio engineer on the podcast.
Awesome. Thanks so much, folks. Just wanted to make sure my team gets some shine as well. And so I'm going to go ahead and move us forward and pass the mic over to Edward.
So the Hope Podcast really came up as a kind of inter-organizational collaboration between the organization that Marilyn and I come from, Good for Media, and Hope Coalition, which is where the other folks in our team come from. Good for Media is more of a peer mentoring program, but we focus, I'm not going to read off the screen, but this is much more well articulated on the screen. We really focus more on how can we look at social media in terms of its like pros and cons, and how can we try to show youth how they can use social media in a way that empowers them and their own like personal, whether it be objectives, lives, interactions online. Hope Coalition is more so, it's looking at the messages that are spread, especially online, and looking at how we can kind of make those more youth focused and make them better for a youth audience. So that intersection between like that youth engagement with tech was where we started off with our collaboration. And from that, we have been able to make a really amazing podcast, which Sanjana will tell us more about.
Yeah, so as Edward mentioned, our podcast is a collaboration between two different campaigns. And so we created the Hope podcast to share more about our lived experiences on social media and to educate youth on how to navigate the digital world. Because personally for me, when I started using social media when I was like around 12 and 13, there's not a lot of information out there on how to be a mindful user. So we hope through each podcast episode and sharing our personal experiences, we can educate youth about how to be more mindful when they're consuming social media and then also when they're generating and creating content. And so through our Hope podcast, there's multiple components of it. And so in every episode, we talk about our personal experiences on social media. And then we also include a bunch of research and we feature a bunch of guest speakers from psychologists and hopefully like other youth campaigns so they can share their insights and perspectives.
Our message kind of is designed to kind of cross the bridge between both of our organization's objectives. The first one, especially, I think I've mentioned quite a bit of this just before, but the first message being trying to spread awareness of both positive and negative aspects of social media. Topics that we've focused on and that we are continuing to focus on include things like substance abuse, addictiveness of social media, body image dissatisfaction, cyberbullying, online scams, and especially putting that into youth context, but then also being able to show, okay, well, now that we know that these things exist within technology, how can you actually use technology in a way that might be able to avoid these or in a way that's able to allow you to view this content with more of a critical eye? And again, trying to encourage that healthier relationship with technology, not necessarily saying that technology is the cause of our problems, but that technology can be used to kind of combat some of the issues that it has itself. And again, trying to center young people's perspectives. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to make a youth hosted podcast, trying to improve things like social media design, but then also how is social media used and how can we have conversations around things like tech responsibility and social media responsibility, both at a personal level, but also when we look at social media platforms and how are they responsible for the content that they show.
So currently we have recorded 4 episodes, and each of these we talk about different topics regarding social media. So in our first one, we just talk about when we first got on it and like our initial experiences with it. And then in our second episode, we talk about the harsh negativity that like online spaces have, which like includes cyberbullying, like online safety, like social comparison and FOMO. And we also talk about tips and tricks on how to detach from the addictive nature from social media and taking like screen breaks and just being a more mindful user in general. And then in our third episode, we talk about how social media glamorizes a lot of like alcohol and substances. And then in our fourth episode, we talk about youth-generated content, especially with Gen Alpha content creators coming up and like setting boundaries when it comes to young content creators working with brands and just regulations on social media in general.
Yeah, and we're gonna share a snippet of our episode 1, just the beginning of it. So yeah, take a listen of it.
Okay, I'm gonna play it. Let me know if you can hear.
Who better to dive deeper into the realm of social media than a group of teenagers? As our world transitions into a more technologically advanced place, comprehending the diverse effects it has on us, both positive and negative, is essential. Whether it's the journey of joining social media or the process of disengaging from it, discussing its impact on mental well-being or its ability to enhance our social interaction, every individual's experience varies. Join us in our deep dive into the world of social media. Let's discover hope together. Hi, this is Sanjana,
Edward.
This is Vaibhava.
and today we'll be talking about the coming of age on social media.
Awesome. So that was a little snippet of, I think, one of our first episodes. And so you kind of heard our team in action there. But yeah, really, really insightful conversations. I'm excited for folks to listen in on them. Was there anything else you wanted to share about what we've been working on, Ms. Sanjana, before we move on?
No, I think that's it.
Awesome. Cool. I'll move us to the next one. So thinking about where we're going from here, right? And so Sanjana, Edward, and Gabby, thank you so much for everything you offered. I think, they've been really working so hard on, scripting the podcast, making sure that things are sounding good, editing, doing the engineering, and just really, bringing forth some of these really personal, but also important and valuable conversations, topics that are impacting all young people across the US and even globally, right? And so aside from the scripting and the writing, we've also been working on finishing up the first season of this podcast series. And so we are in the process of tying up who is going to be joining us, our featured guests. So that's really exciting. We're also working on our marketing and our outreach. So we've been doing some of our, as you saw in the previous slide, some of like our promotional material. And we've also, thankfully, LookUp Live, the funds that we were given, we've been able to use platforms like Spotify and just, start budgeting out the ads that we want to use as we start thinking about promoting. And then lastly, we're hoping to finish off with the showcase event at the end of the summer here in the Bay Area, because that's where a lot of our team is based, although some of us are in different parts of the US. And so we're hoping to be able to bring our team together here in the Bay and then host a really cool public showcase event where our youth community and others can just come through and look at the amazing work that our folks have been working on these past couple months. And so that's kind of where we're at now. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to us and hearing us out. And we're looking forward to the feedback that we get from this cohort. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you. And if anyone has any questions, again, you're welcome to ask. You have about a minute and a half to finish up your thoughts on the feedback form and everything there. And while I'm letting you have the space to write and put in all your thoughts, the next person that we will be hearing from will be Mental Checkpoint. And so Raul, if you want to go ahead and get started, make sure everything's up and ready to go. You have a few seconds left to kind of prepare and everything. Just want to give enough time for folks. All right. So yeah, this looks great. Let's go ahead and get started.
Okay. Can everyone see everything okay?
Yeah, looks good.
So my name is Raul, and I'm spearheading the Mental Checkpoint project. The main goal of the project is basically to kind of teach the youth, similar to a lot of the other projects here, teach the youth about tech use, responsible tech use, what are the pros and cons. And my idea was to basically make a video game to teach that to the future generations and so on. So the high concept is this idea of this researcher. You play the role of a scientist who lives in this hypothetical future where the current social media problems aren't properly addressed. And so things get progressively worse and worse until there needs to be a pretty extreme treatment to get people back to a healthy mindset. And the way that they do this in this hypothetical, fantastical future is he builds a kind of inner psyche exploration machine. So basically, they hook it up to the patient and then they kind of go into their minds and basically fix stuff up from the inside. It's a very sci-fi heavy concept. And before I say more, I think I'm just going to show this video to get the idea across. I'm not sure if the audio is going to play, but you guys let me know if you can hear it. And that's what the gameplay looks like, the graphics. That's the visual style I'm going for. Was the audio mostly okay? It wasn't that important. It was just music. There wasn't really much dialogue. I wanted to take a second here to also explain why I felt the need to go for such a high fantasy kind of concept. Because I'm making a media product that's specifically about real world issues, I noticed that something that can happen when people attempt that is if it does reach a big following or if it has any kind of critical success, it's often that it can be misinterpreted and taken as treatment as opposed to what it really is, which is a media product. So an example that comes to mind is if anyone knows John Green, he's a very famous author, brother of Hank Green, which runs the Crash Course series on YouTube. And basically, he wrote this book called Turtles All the Way Down, which is getting made into a movie at the moment. And he talked about how it was important that people take the media product and then from there go on to get actual therapy and actual help, because the book and the movie is about OCD, which is a very serious mental condition. And it's a danger when you try to make these kinds of products that people take the media and then essentially say that the work is done and this is the treatment. So by forcing this distance between the product and the actual treatment, because I'm assuming no one's that's going to play the game has access to this fantastical machine that lets you go into people's brains, it'll force people to take it as it is and then move forward to actual avenues. No media product is going to do the same for you as a licensed therapist or counselor. I also wanted to talk about the development process, which was, I'll keep this part short because it's mostly technical and not that exciting, but I used environment kits to build out most of the assets. It's where you build out a level by making the individual blocks first, and then you use that to programmatically build out the rest of the level. So you make a few distinct objects and then kind of build out from there into a much bigger cohesive piece. And these are the main goals that I have for this project. Regardless of commercial success or critical reception, I think if I achieve these things, for me, this is considered an absolute success. So my goals are to communicate using the target audience's language. And this basically means that when I was a kid, I know that I wasn't reading self-help books. I wasn't watching YouTube videos about any of this. I was mostly playing video games. So that's the audience that I'm trying to hijack. I'm hijacking their hobby to hopefully deliver an important and poignant message, educate of the harmful side effects of overusing tech, and also the positive effects, because as many people have said today, it is not all bad. There are pros and cons. And explore the current social media landscape in fun and interesting ways, which is why it's a very fantastical kind of concept, a very weird story. And yeah, that's my project.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And again, if there are questions, go ahead and ask. I do want to know, Raul, when would someone who's very interested in playing be able to play your game? I'm not talking about myself at all in this capacity. Not.
Luckily, we're towards the end stages, but we're still polishing a few things. We're fixing some bugs. We want to make sure that I say we, it's just me. I don't know why I'm pretending to have a team behind me, but I'm trying to get it as good as possible, basically, so that when it is finally released, it's in the best state possible.
And do you have like a waiting list or like a newsletter that we can sign up for to then know when that will be?
That would have been smart to do, yeah. I think
Okay.
I might reach out about that in the future.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
if I do set one up, that could be useful.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Cool. Really great. Amazing. All right. And so just for the folks in the room, go ahead and wrap up your final thoughts on that Google form for feedback. Next up, we will hear from Netproject, and I'll let Netproject go ahead and start queuing up their things and get set in and all of that good stuff.
Hello, can everyone hear me and see your presentation?
We can hear you.
Can you see my screen?
No, we can't. I still see Raul's.
Okay. Um, can you see my screen now?
There it is.
Okay, great. Let me know when I should get going.
You are ready whenever.
Great. Hi, everyone. So we're the Netproject. We're a tech nonprofit helping people live meaningful and flourishing lives. We are hoping to raise $500,000 to launch the next stage of our intervention to help people with meaning. Oh. Now, you might be wondering what we mean by this. Well, think about a time in your life where it felt like you had a lot of meaning compared to when it didn't. Or you might be able to imagine someone in your life like this. In one experience, it can be a struggle to get out of bed. And the other, where it feels like life has a lot of meaning, it feels like you can move mountains. I can personally speak to both of these experiences. In 2016, freshman year of college, I was extremely depressed. On the surface, there wasn't anything all that surprising for a college freshman. There were insecurities and uncertainties about life, friends and relationships, difficulty adjusting to a new environment, and of course, balancing all of that. On my best days, this wasn't anything I could handle and couldn't handle and work through, but below the surface, I really had no sense of meaning and no purpose. I had completely shut down. I wasn't going to classes or seeing my friends. I wasn't even eating or leaving my room. I was really depressed and even suicidal. Now, contrasting this with the best experiences, where it felt like my life did have a lot of meaning, I could hold multiple internships, jobs, school, social life, and exercise. Meaning is what even helped me write the 100-page thesis about how meaning affects well-being that led to this nonprofit. But more on that in a second. So the meaning crisis is real. By some estimates, 40 to 50% of people in the US and Canada don't feel like they have a strong sense of meaning and purpose in their lives. For me, when I had no why, even finding the reason or the purpose to look for a therapist didn't make any sense. And when I finally did find one, the traditional therapy approaches often struggled to help me address these deeper issues. And my experience isn't unique. A lack of meaning not only affects resilience, but is also associated with greater rates of depression, suicidal ideation, anxiety, low self-esteem, and a slew of other health and well-being outcomes. So I saw this for myself. Remember that research project I did and the thesis I wrote? Well, parts of that were turned into an interview format where I traveled across different cities and asked people about their thoughts. An unexpected pattern started to rise. People would start thanking me for the conversation before I could thank them. They would tell me that they had never spoken to anyone about this, often not even their therapists or mental health professionals. They were telling me just how much meaning affected them, sometimes positively when it empowered them to pursue dreams and aspirations to have an impact on the world and local communities. And when they weren't doing things that felt meaningful, they felt like they were languishing or drifting through life at the very best, or depressed and resentful at the very worst. What is the meaning of life? Most of us have probably asked ourselves this question at some point in time. And at the Netproject, we actually think it's a big reason why we're still struggling with the meaning crisis. You see, we think that this is the wrong question. At the Netproject, we want to change the conversation. We want people to ask, how does the way I'm approaching meaning affect my life, my sense of connection, my autonomy, my resilience, and my health? So this is how we're approaching it. We're hoping to help people understand the things that comprise their well-being, or what we call flourishing. We want to make it easier and less taboo for them to talk about meaning and how this has changed for them over the course of their lives and how it may change in the future. We've chosen to create a digital platform to meet people where they are and make the process more approachable and tangible, so that you're not just passively consuming content, but actively reflecting on how you can make a difference in your life. It's a research-informed approach, and there isn't any doom scrolling or influencers or trends, and it's focused on tracking. It's a focused experience that you can track your learnings, perspectives, and changes. So when you first begin your experience on the Netproject, it'll go through 7 different cards, responding to questions about yourself on different components of life and well-being, or what we call flourishing. Think about it like an advanced form of happiness. We don't expect someone to be transformed on just day 1. This is only the first step. Afterwards, you'll get to travel to our second chapter, where you'll reflect on how you think about the meaning of life and how this has changed for you over time. These 2 experiences, your meaning and your sense of flourishing, form the basis for the rest of your experience on the Netproject journey. Then every day when you log on to the Netproject, you'll get a new card to dive deeper on concepts related to meaning and flourishing, helping you craft a life where you can end each day feeling fulfilled. So over the past few months, myself and my lovely teammates have been hard at work over multiple things. We've continued developing our designs based on user feedback, and we've gone into the field, and we've even done some rapid prototyping and testing. We've been working on making the platform usable. Here are my own entries for the personal growth card. As you can see, I have space to not only recount my current feelings and headspace, but how this has changed for me over the course of time that I've been using Netproject. Unfortunately, the platform isn't usable for everyone just yet. Over the past few months, we've created a 5-week user experience, onboarded 50 users to our testing pipeline, and we've completed over 100 user interviews. It's been a patchwork of experiences, with users completing reflections over Google Forms and individual emails, and I've been keeping track of all of this on a Google spreadsheet. Who is where on the journey, who needs a reminder, and who needs the next piece of content, and who needs an interview. Despite this, we've had positive feedback. These are just a few excerpts from some of our users and what they've been saying. We've had people like Stedman tell us that their experiences on our curriculum have offered new frames to help them reach new insights, and that they felt so engaged that they even stopped looking at the time. And when they were done, they had new frames to apply to their life. We had people like Kate, who said that the experience felt exploratory, that they actually got to talk and understand real variables that affected them instead of just their surface level emotions. We had people like Cam say that they felt both lighter and more motivated. Practically, Cam has started looking into things like his career change and fixing his sleep schedule, which he's been putting off. So the Netproject is hoping to raise, again, $500,000, and we need this money to design, engineer, and develop our app, working on a broader rollout where we're hoping to reach 1,000 weekly active users by the end of the year, no longer on my Google spreadsheet. But we're not hoping to stop just at 1,000 users. That's only the beginning. We want to make this sustainable and far-reaching, affecting millions of lives. We're thinking about 2025, 2026, and beyond. We're thinking about how we can create a sustainable business model and expand our impact. We're looking at other tech nonprofits like Khan Academy to learn what they've done. We're discussing freemium models so that users can pay subscriptions for higher tiers and get lifetime access to advanced features. We've also discussed the possibility of corporate, university, and clinical licensing. Our impact aims to create an everyday routine for someone's productivity and their self-care. We want to develop more features to enhance meaningful connections, even beyond your own personal self-reflection. And we want to reach vulnerable populations for greater impact. So we have the team to do it. We have talented folks working on engineering and design. We have advisors who span different elements from human-centered design to clinical practice in psychology, startups, and even Nancy, who joined us from LookUp. So remember that Google spreadsheet from earlier? Well, we already have hundreds of interested users signed up on our mailing list, and we have local nonprofits and educators working with young people who want their students to try what we've been building. All this was done only with word of mouth. People who hear what we've been working on and want to try it, and then want to refer their friends and communities after doing so. But without the proper funds, we can only do so much. And we can't reach these people, we can't continue our development. The world needs Netproject now more than ever. We know what it's like to feel like life has no purpose. We also know that it's a spectrum. On the best day when you're filled with purpose, it feels like you can move mountains. And today, you all have an opportunity. Can you help us move this mountain or help us approach ways in which we can? Thank you so much.
Very nice. Thank you so much. As always, any questions you're welcome to ask, and go ahead and start finishing up maybe some of your thoughts on the feedback form. I'll give you a few seconds. We'll sit here quietly together, and then I will queue up our next presentation.
Next, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
are up
Okay.
next.
Sorry.
No, you're good. It's okay. You can go ahead and start bringing everything up and ready to present.
Awesome. Okay. Okay. Is everything visible? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Awesome. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Emmy, if you don't know. I'm excited to talk to you guys today about my project that I worked on during the program. So a little bit about me, if you don't know already. I enjoy rock climbing in my free time, and I work at the Boys and Girls Club in Harlem. And I also like making earrings and dancing to K-pop. So I kind of wanted to dive into like my why. So like growing up, I faced significant challenges that kind of taught me the importance of mental health. And during my sophomore year of college, my school experienced a tragic series of like suicides, losing like over 7 students. So this deeply affected me and kind of just motivated me to do more and move. So now that I work with kids, I see the struggle and stress firsthand, and I want to create a supportive environment for them where they can learn and engage and also feel safe at the same time. So I've been in programs outside of college and school where I've had kind of like a stress-free education where they've inspired me to do that for other students as well. So I was inspired particularly about AI, and I think it's important because I went to a conference in Princeton where I was in a group of teachers in this room.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Are you working here? Excuse me 1 second. Okay. Hello. No, it's okay. Oh, you're bringing it? I'm fine. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Don't mind that in the background. But yeah, I went to a conference, group of teachers, and a lot of the teachers argued that they want to ban AI. They don't like it. Kids are cheating, not producing original content. And the professor at Princeton disagreed. And I agree with that because I think that we need to adapt and also teach the kids about AI to like enhance their learning and empathize with them as things are always changing and evolving because AI isn't leaving and pretty sure it's here to stay as it looks like. So my idea was a 10-week program where students explore AI tools like ChatGPT and Midjourney and these technologies that just like shape their world. So my goal is to like replace their fear with the idea of AI with like a deeper understanding. So teaching them about AI and how it makes them more familiar with it. So I think it will help navigate their lives better and give them critical thinking tools. So I wanted to show you guys the result and some of the sessions that we had. So this was weekly sessions every Thursday. And the initial response was encouraging and it seemed like the students loved it. And there are some great days and some days weren't. But for week 3 in particular, we talked about everyday AI in everyday life. And what we did is we defined machine learning and natural language processing and explored examples like social media, Face ID, Google search, and Netflix recommendations, and just introducing them to more technologies that have AI integrated in them. Ooh,
Wow.
You can't see it. Wait 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. So just understand that. So the portion where they're able to engage, gladly we had a Google volunteer demonstrate a device he created. Yes.
Do you know where's Melanie?
Miss Melanie, maybe in the main room possibly. Mm-hmm. Should be over there. Sorry about that again. So students got to interact with a device that a Google volunteer came in, and basically it's kind of like this portrait where you talk to it, similar to like Alexa, and you can request for it to draw anything you like. So I have a little video of them interacting with it.
Generate an image of a New York style chopped cheese in the style of BoJack Horseman.
Okay, I don't know if you guys heard what she said, but she said make a New York style chopped cheese in the style of BoJack Horseman, which I believe that is a show that I have not watched.
Wow.
I love how that has no beef in it though.
That's one. So basically before the class, the students, I asked them how often they interact with AI, or at least thought they interacted with AI, and the average response was like 28% of the time. But after a few of like our lessons, that changed and it jumped to 79%. And they were surprised to learn that AI empowers a bunch of platforms that they use, like Duolingo, Twitter, and even like Major League Baseball. So this was another lesson that we did. We explored AI and mental health, and we discussed how AI could make therapy more accessible. And we also looked at like the downsides. So they realized that it can be accessible to people with like lower incomes, but at the same time, there are limitations because the AI therapist can give inaccurate advice and fail to properly support their users. They had fun with this lesson, and some of them were asking for real advice, and some of them were just trying to make the AI mess up and say, look what it was saying to me. I was like, well, I don't know if this is a realistic situation, but and last but not least, week 10, we took them on a field trip, and very grateful for this to be able to do this for them. And we took them to the art tech house in the city where they integrate AI and art. And lovely, the time that we went, it was Black History Month, making it like really special for a lot of them. So here's a little video of
Shay. Wait.
All songs of freedom.
so one of the students said, yeah,
I'm gonna get 3D.
Cool.
Because I didn't eat nothing all day.
And then we got food after, and we went to Chelsea's Market as well. I wanted to discuss some of the downsides or some things that like didn't go like as planned. So we faced some challenge in the sense that some kids just didn't show up because it's like an after school program. It's optional to them, and I can't force them to come learn with me, but we tried to integrate more activities and food and snacks to motivate them to come. Before the program, a lot of the students had mixed feelings about AI, from like fear to just making them feel a little bit anxious. But afterwards, it shifted, and 66% of them felt more positive, and 33 kind of still remained like very cautious about AI, which I definitely understand that. So for future goals, we're hoping to brainstorm how to create a more comforting and like safe environment for the teens of Harlem, and a place where they feel like encouraged to learn and express their feelings. So we have a new meditation room, and we're hoping to like introduce some more like soft lightings, and also get some fun games that incorporate mindfulness and question games to kind of just educate them and deepen their connection with each other. So key aspects of the program is the media literacy part of AI, I think, is crucial because students today often use AI blindly, and they don't know how it's made or how to talk to it or how it can benefit them in their life properly, whether it's for like schoolwork or advice or anything else. I definitely, although they might feel more anxious based on like my survey about AI, I see that they've been using the tools I taught them, because a lot of them were just using AI for plagiarism, and I taught them how to like fact check, and I taught them how AI will not always tell you the truth or give you like the best information, or they can be grammatically incorrect. So they've been using that information for their benefit, which that makes me happy. Looking forward ahead, I hope in my hometown that I can host workshops surrounding media literacy and AI. And yeah. Thank you. I appreciate everybody and my mentor Amy, LookUp Live team, and the other awardees. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. Thanks. All right. So as always, any questions, let us know and wrap up your final thoughts. And then we'll now hear from Jorge, and his project is Revolyst. So Jorge, whenever you're ready, you can start queuing up and getting everything ready to go.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Let me know if and when you can see my screen.
There it is.
Am I on my screen?
You are not on your screen.
That is okay. I tried
Okay.
and it did not work. Alrighty. Let me just go ahead and present, and we're good to go. Lovely. Okay, are we good? Are we full screen?
Yes, we are.
Oh, and there I am.
There you are. Beautiful.
Okay, now am I on the screen?
Yes, you are. Yeah.
Hopefully I'm not blocking important content. Let me know if I am. I'll just like do this. But hi
Sounds
everyone.
good.
I'm Jorge Alvarez. I'm a mental health advocate and obviously a lookup innovator. I'm really excited to be here and be able to discuss more about my project, how it's evolved, and where we're going. And I just want to start off by saying thank you, everyone, the entire lookup team, for the opportunity, not just with funding, but then also the other support that you offered. That being said, meet Revolyst. So my idea, called Revolutionary Catalysts, was initially born from this idea that if you can't find community, build it. And I kept this slide here because this is quite literally what I showed Kate and the lookup team when I first applied. But the goal was to essentially build a collective of BIPOC creatives and advocates to do a couple of things. I was quite ambitious, but one of them was to co-create. And so what I decided to sort of come up with and really pinpoint as it relates to what our part in this movement is to create sustainable social impact and community for youth by youth, for young people by young people, however you want to label us. And the reason why I wanted to do this was because I think in my experience as an advocate, I'm in a lot of spaces where we're all doing lots of amazing things. Like we're even a great example of that, but we don't have connection with each other. And I think there's so many ways new ideas can really blossom and flourish if there was more collaboration. And so that's what I was seeking to do with Revolyst. Originally, I aimed to do what I just said, right? But there was more to it. The goal was also to create opportunity for us to co-create not just ideas, solutions, but co-create specific, I'm going to slide over, but co-create specifically resources for one another, right? And support systems for one another. Now, after I began the project, again, thanks to the accountability of LookUp, which I very much needed, I was able to hone in on what we wanted to address, right? So this is ultimately, these were the issues, the pillars that we wanted to change as part of the collective aspect of this project. However, once I came together with myself and also identified other folks to work with me, I and we combined our shared strengths and realized that the best next step was to collaborate on a project to show the power of collective co-creation prior to expanding and building the collective. And this was really this kind of, I guess, approach to the work was possible thanks to conversations that I had with my mentor, Jay, and other mentors of mine outside of this program. Essentially, they were like, why don't you create a proof of concept for the power of co-creation? And I was like, brilliant. And I already had sort of a pipeline of ideas that I wanted to bring to life through this larger idea or this larger organization, collective. And so that's what we decided to hone in on. So I like to practice humility. And I wanted to show, again, this is what I showed when I pitched originally, but I sort of flipped my approach on its head. So rather than going from phase 1, 2 to 3, we started at phase 3, which is, again, if you see the first bullet point, co-create and build solutions to address social issues. And I just want to show this because phase 1 and 2 will now sort of happen in the coming months, which I talk more about at the end. And so this being said, we identified our first project. So this is the project called Bridging the Generational Gap, brought to you by Revolyst, that we wanted to bring to life together. And essentially, this particular project is meant to show how vulnerable and intimate conversations between parents and children of color in particular could lead to a place of understanding, right? So it's a mental health project, and the intention is going to be defined further in the following, but we wanted to essentially lean into this idea out of the pipeline that I had developed because it was just really aligned with the others that were involved. And also the skill sets of folks that I had on that I wanted to do outreach to. So it's very much thinking about, like I said, our shared strengths and how we can come together to create Bridging the Generational Gap. So the project overview was essentially to create a non-scripted interview video series featuring BIPOC families. We want to invoke emotion and demonstrate that having these intimate and vulnerable conversations between different generations is possible and why it's important to have these. And then we also wanted to create a mental health guide. I work at a mental health nonprofit. There's a lot of resources that exist, but little of them are informed by young people. And it's really important that we share actionable steps with the viewers of this content to continue the conversation, but also how to nourish their connections online. I feel like that for me was something really exciting because especially when you graduate college or even in college, I think our connection with those family members of other generations is really difficult to do online. And so how could we sort of create, not just demonstrate what these conversations look like in real life, but then prompt folks to think about how this continues again in the digital landscape, which I'm really excited about. I'm getting a chat bubble. Hold up. Oh, we have 1 minute and 30 seconds left. Great. So that being said, we did a landscape analysis. I'm going to tap through both of these where we were able to kind of understand what type of content exists in the world. We also did a landscape analysis of resources that we were inspired by. And I finally chose a executive leadership team. So Jasmine is our executive co-producer. And Dr. Monica Band is a licensed therapist with her PsyD. And she's actually the host of I Need to Ask You Something, nationally, globally ranked podcast, wellness podcast. And she's actually going to be the facilitator of this conversation and the on-site registered clinical therapist. And then I have names of some of the first folks that I had recruited who are not only part of the team, but will be part of our inaugural collective. Here's the timeline of what we were able to do. The key things I want to call out on this very long timeline is the fact that we had a test shoot where we actually identified and booked a space. I, with the funding of LookUp, hired a whole team, rented equipment, and we filmed and we shot in real life. And June 30th, which you see here at the very end, is our official shoot date, which is really exciting because that means we're going to start working with a video editor. We're going to start working with a social media consultant I worked with. And there's a whole plan that's going to follow after this that coincides with now expanding and building on phase 1 and 2 of what I had initially planned, expanding the collective. Here are some shots from us filming. Y'all, I did not know how expensive this equipment was. Let me just say, it was significantly expensive just to rent and book, but shout out to Connections. Here are some videos of what some of the setup looked like. Shout out to Marcus, he's a cafe owner. We're filming in his cafe. So that's why we have this set up. And here are some still shots from what we're going to be filming together. That's Jasmine, I'm Jorge, and we're really excited about what's to come because doesn't this look so good? I think it does. Now, looking ahead, the goal is to finish the project, right? Meaning film, edit, and then ultimately we're going to amplify. So we have, again, a plan to disseminate and distribute. That's likely to evolve. And that's why I literally included the word evolve, not just because the content itself and that plan is going to evolve, but also, again, what I want Revolyst to be and the projects that we have in our pipeline to be are going to continue to evolve as well. And ultimately, this is a pilot for one of the ideas and for this larger concept. But I have been fortunate to secure more funding, which is what's allowed this to continue to go. And the goal is to continue to secure a bit more funding until and if I decide to pivot sort of the direction on either end of things. Thank you, and that's everything for me. I appreciate you all so much. And again, shout out to LookUp and my mentor and the others who have given me feedback.
Thank you so much, Jorge. I'm excited to see everything and watch it all. All right, next up, we're gonna have our team for Soulsync go ahead and get started. You're welcome to share your screen, get set up. To everyone else, start wrapping up your thoughts. And I will be sending a recap email to all who are present here. I'll send the recording and then I'll send the links again so you can refresh and get everything in there. And then, so innovators, that means come Monday, you'll have all access as long as you've filled out your survey. So Soulsync, take it away. Let me know when you're ready.
Can everyone see this okay?
Yes, it looks great.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Celine and today I'll be presenting Soulsync, which is an organization that empowers mental health awareness in the Asian American community. Joining me in this presentation will be Angela, Edwin, and Lee, who will be introducing in a little bit. Next slide, please. Okay, let's start by addressing the core issue we're tackling with Soulsync. In many Asian cultures, mental health support and awareness are significantly lacking. Many individuals face immense pressure to adhere to the ideals of perfection, often involving the suppression of emotions and maintaining a facade of success and composure. The challenge is compounded by cultural stigmas against acknowledging and seeking help for mental health issues. And these factors can create a barrier to mental health wellness and leave many people struggling in silence. Next slide, please. Our mission here at Soulsync is to provide culturally sensitive mental health resources and to reduce the stigma around mental health in the Asian American community. We believe that everyone deserves access to the support they need to prioritize their mental health without any fear or shame. By raising awareness and offering practical resources, we aim to empower individuals to take charge of their mental wellness. Next slide, please. So how do we address this problem? Our solution is Soulsync, which is a centralized digital platform dedicated to mental health support. Our platform offers a range of features designed to meet the unique needs of our community. Key features include a customizable wellness calendar, which will allow users to personalize their mental health journey with scheduled activities and reminders. We will also provide a rich library of educational articles and videos focusing on wellness practices such as mindfulness, healthy habits, and various types of therapies. Let's go over who composes this team. So we are a team of four. We're Angela, Celine, Edwin, and me. And all of us are rising juniors. Angela, me, and Celine study at Walden College, and Edwin goes to George Washington University. And we have been working together through the online format and sometimes offline as well, kind of collaborating on this project together. Next slide, please. And this is kind of a video overview of our platform where we will walk through every single page. So as you can see, we have our homepage, or about our team page, our calendar, media and podcast that's coming soon, as well as resources and a contact page shown in this video. In terms of resources, we have both articles as well as video resources linked that are external, but we will also be creating our own resources in the form of podcasts as well, as you've seen previously here.
Next slide, please.
Next slide, please.
So here's our wellness calendar. So the goal of our wellness calendar is to help users to take control of their mental health journey by following daily, weekly, and monthly. So users can subscribe to different wellness calendars that include a range of activities like mindfulness meditation, physical exercises, and in the future, we hope to provide resources and sample activities to guide those who need a place to start. And of course, we acknowledge that our users may have committed to other calendar applications, thus we provide an option to import or export the data for convenience. Next slide. And so for the Medium Podcast is another essential feature of our website where we can share meaningful discourse and around debatable and informative topics. So we want to focus on interviews, conversations with mental health experts and those involved with meditation, social media, time management, planning, all aspects of life that people will need. Next slide. So here is one of our primary functions is the resource bank, because we have a curated selection that is designed to educate, inspire, and empower users, providing a valuable perspective on mental wellness tailored to the needs of the Asian community. And we want to create a centralized resource bank to provide the tools for individuals to excel. We want to revolve around promoting mental health awareness, research behind activities boosting mental health, meditation guides, podcast transcripts, local health providers, and hopefully online therapy platforms. Yeah.
So here's our timeline of what we've been doing during the program at LookUp and also what we hope to do in the upcoming future. Throughout January and March, we were mostly searching for a web developer that could meet our needs within our budget. This was a bit of a challenge here, and it took a lot longer than we expected, which is something that we had to navigate. Within March through June, this is where we spent designing and preparing the website to what it is right now. Throughout this process, there's a lot of communication within our own team and then also with the web developer on how we want the website to look design-wise and also what we want the website to be functionally. During this process, we also had to prepare materials for what we wanted to be presented on the website. Some challenges were also met here with how our ideas could actually be implemented functionally. And so that's also something we had to navigate with finding new solutions and finding new outlets that we could use. I will also say the video that we included is still kind of like a rough draft, and there are some things in there that we need to still fix up, just as a little note. Hopefully by the end of this month, we'll be able to launch our website for our initial launch, also promote it and market it, and also receive some feedback on what we can improve within it. Throughout July to August, we're hoping to implement the feedback that we receive and also research and gather more credible materials that we can add to our website. In September, we're hoping to do a second launch of our updated website, our new and improved website, and also hopefully release our initial podcast that we're also hoping to have. During this month, we're also hoping to maybe research and reach out to some potential guests that we could have on future podcast episodes. Oops, sorry. This is kind of what we're hoping for, what we could get from you guys, or just what we're seeking for the future. One thing is funding to help expand our platform and to reach more people after this program ends. We're also looking for potential partnerships to enhance our content and also extend that our reach of our project. We're also seeking promotion. So if you guys could help us share our platform and maybe reach a greater audience, that would be awesome. Last but not least, we would love to hear your feedback. So if you guys could share your thoughts and suggestions in the form, we would love to hear it and implement it into our website. With Soulsync, we strive to make mental health resources accessible, relevant, and empowering for everyone. Join us in making mental well-being a top priority. Thank you so much to our mentors, to LookUp, and also I'd like to also thank my team and the web developer that we were able to work with for making everything possible. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everyone. And we're now going to hear from Young Minds Think Tank. So that team is up next, and just want to point out that Angela is a heavy hitter and will be on the second team. We're really, really excited to see our final pitch here. And again, if there's any questions, go ahead and ask them or put them in the Google form. And yeah. Young Minds Think Tank, when you are ready to go, let's go ahead and get started.
I'll share my screen again for this one. Is everybody able to see this? Okay, great.
Hello, everyone. I'll start here. So we are Young Minds Think Tank. My name is Shimiga, and this is Angela, and go to the next slide. So both of us actually earlier this year started working for the Youth Media and Wellbeing Research and Action Lab near Wellesley College, which conducts research-based participatory workshops for the youth and specifically marginalized youth. So in the lab, besides us doing research, we also on the ground work with youth, and we realized that's a very unique situation because not a lot of labs have resources to work so directly with the youth. And these workshops in particular, they gain insight to the experiences and perspectives of marginalized youth, which are also often overlooked in the research and the broader discussions. And they empower students with the skills to create digital well-being solutions. So with our project, we want to share these valuable insights with the world while also promoting the empowering workshops themselves.
So I wanted to share a little bit about some background on the workshops themselves. So these have been workshops that have been happening since 2019, and they started in person, but because of COVID, they moved to virtual. And these are all free and they're targeted towards middle school girls, where these students get to co-design an app to promote positive social media use. And so sometimes we'll also have guest speakers come speak at these workshops. So here's an example here with this Zoom picture here. And we also have some testimonies here from students themselves on what they thought about the workshops. And so this one student said, "Now I know that AI can help protect people from scary or inappropriate things, give us what we want without having to keep scrolling forever, and that it can help us identify bad users." In these workshops, we've mentored middle school girls in things like design thinking, reflection, prototyping, and also having expert-led discussions, which culminates to a final project for healthier social media experiences, whether it's redesigning an app or creating a new app or experience themselves, which is something that we will get more into this in this presentation.
So in order to spread youth ideas, we decided to create a website that would feature student voices and projects, most importantly, also showcase the history of the workshop and how each year gets developed. We wanted to highlight our milestones every time we had any publications or webinars. And we wanted it to be also a practical resource for others who want to conduct similar workshops, as well as an inspiration for technologists and people who want to create social technologies for youth and need to understand what the youth themselves want. And also we're recruiting participants for summer workshops every year and showcase the intergenerational collaboration, since in these workshops, the kids are not just mentored by experts, but also by near peer mentors from colleges. So yes. This is an example of some of the projects that we believe, because youth are the future of our digital ecosystems, and a lot of times people don't know like what youth are actually capable of at each grade, and what they are, for example, discussing between each other, how well they understand concepts like AI and digital well-being. So we're showing people what kind of skills you can teach them at this age and what they themselves already know and understand.
So this is our website so far. It's definitely still under the works, but I'll go ahead and play this video that will take us through it. So this is the home page. It essentially shows an overview of what the other pages include, but most importantly, it highlights the projects made by the students themselves in this kind of carousel-like application that goes through the pictures. And we also highlight the processes of planning these workshops and also some guest speakers that we've had. And we also have a page dedicated to each of the year of the workshops on what the themes were, the projects that were made that year, and also some testimonies from the students that went to the workshop that year. This is an Our Story page highlighting the origins of the workshop. It was created by our lab director, Dr. Linda Charmarman, and also a CS professor at Wellesley, Dr. Catherine Delcourt. And we also wanted to highlight the great team that goes into all the work that we do. This includes facilitators that we've had, and also Emily, who has also been helping us build the website. So as for the process of making the website, we wanted to talk about some challenges and reflections that we've had. One thing was navigating website logistics, such as finding a platform. This was like whether we wanted to use Google websites or something like Wix. We ended up going with Google Sites for functionality and also security purposes. Another thing was navigating the website designing and planning process. This definitely took a lot of communication, brainstorming, and just kind of figuring out what the best way to showcase everything on our website was. A part of this was also gathering and organizing materials. There's so many years of workshops, and we really wanted to highlight all the information in a digestible, well showcased way. So that was also something that we had to kind of go through and think about. The mentorship process is something that we really enjoyed and valued as well. Whether it was mentorship through LookUp or mentorship with our advisors at the Youth Media Wellbeing Lab. Another thing that we had to think about was long-term sustaining of the website, considering that we want this website to be updated every year with the new workshops that we've had. We had to think about what is the best way to implement that so that future, perhaps interns at the lab could update the website themselves in a simple, straightforward way. Going forward, we also wanted to have a launch event. This is something that we're hoping to have in October on Zoom. We're very open to ideas for this, so we would love to hear your feedback, perhaps in the forum, on any ideas that you have. This is something that we're hoping to have dedicated for, most importantly, the youth, but also feature some speakers, faculty, researchers, and parents. We're hoping to have this event to kind of just be this big conversation that we can have to kind of really focus again on the purpose of showcasing the youth and their ideas and bridge the gap between youth and stakeholders that there often is in the world. We also wanted to see, hopefully, if youth from prior workshops come back and we can check in and kind of see what they're doing now and perhaps how the workshop impacted their life. Hopefully, this will also be an opportunity for us to kind of brainstorm new ideas of how we can continue this programming in the future, perhaps try something new, and also how we can promote it to reach more people.
So this is our team that has been working from the beginning, and we all bring very different skills to the table. Connie, who's not here, she was actually the person who created the facilitator training for the workshop and have been doing these workshops for many years. So she was our main advisor. We have Angela, who focuses more on the psychology behind everything and the mental health and advocacy. And I bring another perspective from anthropology and data science, and specifically social media research and tech ethics policy.
So these are kind of next steps for what we were hoping to do additional to the launch event. Again, we would love to hear your feedback. Potentially, we're also looking to look more into marketing of how, again, we can kind of take this to the next step and see how we can bring this into more spaces. We're also seeking some advice on maybe how we can continue with this website and what are some new things that we can implement into it. And we also would love your help with outreach to help reach new participants and perhaps just whoever can benefit from our website and the workshops that we host. And here's also our flyer for our upcoming free virtual workshops for this summer. Hopefully, let's promote digital well-being and empower the youth together. And thank you so much to everyone who helped us make this project possible.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Jamilia, you read my mind. I wanted access to your handout so I can put it in the email that I'll send out. So thank you for reading my mind on that. To everyone in the room, thank you so much for being here, providing your insights and feedback and just general wanting to be here to build a better online digital space for mental health for our young folk. Thank you so, so much.